Well, there you go. That's what inkers do.
All right.
They take what I did and go over it like that.
Okay, you know? But it's a little bit more...
More what I did, you know.
Right,
yeah.
right.
It's not tracing, they used to call it embellishing. So inkers like to put their own little flair, you know.
Now, when you start with a storyboard, explain what a storyboard is, because not everybody knows what a storyboard is.
Well, a storyboard's for movies. A storyboard, you know, Alfred Hitchcock was the first one to do storyboards.
But when you're doing a comic book,
they're considered panels.
Okay.
So when you look at a page and it's got 6 panels.
Okay.
That's the old Marvel way. Used to be, you know, Stan Lee. One of my good friends was Don Heck, and he used to record Stan Lee because we didn't have all this kind of technology. So Stan Lee would say, this guy who can, you know, who's built of iron, he breaks out of a cave. Page 1. Today, a writer goes, page 1, he breaks out of a cage. Panel 1, panel 2, he flies up in the air. Panel 3, he saves a girl from falling out of a plane. Panel 4, panel 5, panel 6. And the writer does that, which is kind of stifling for the artist. So I prefer the old days when they would just say, hey, page 1, he's battling an army or whatever it is. And then I figure it out. So basically, I do all the the visual logistics.
Now, when you're working with other people, like you're working as a team, are you side by side, or they just hand you the drawings afterwards?
We're all at home. There used to be a new company called Cross Gen Comics, and they were Tampa side in a little area called Oldsmar. And the owner of that company required everybody to be on staff, and that was kind of fun. But we're so used to, you know, being home and not having anybody look over our shoulders. So yeah. So you get everything. It used to be fax or just email, FedEx, you know. Now we do everything through email and scanning. Dropbox is the big thing. So like when I finish art, I'll send it up to Dropbox, you know. No more FTP sites.
So it's not a building or something that you're going to work in?
No, the main office.
That's great.
They do have main offices though. Marvel's still up in New York City, and DC Comics moved to Anaheim, California, I don't know, not a couple of years ago.
Well, they have a big convention every year, I think, for the comic books.
They have a few of them. In Orlando, there's one called the MegaCon, which is a big one in Florida. There's a few new big ones in Florida, the Florida SuperCon. But California, they have the San Diego Comic Convention. That's the big one. Now it's become mostly media, movie industry media, you know, and more so than comic books, you know, because now everything, the next step is from a comic book to a movie. That's the way it's all working. So.
Now, you've never really had, outside of you didn't go to college or anything for this. This is through you did mostly tutoring and that kind of thing with...
No, I did,
not tutoring, but you know,
I'm all self-taught.
Self-taught, right.
But when I got into the business, I got in as an inker because I didn't know how to pencil. It's the most difficult thing doing those panels. So one of the famous people for Spider-Man, John Romita Sr., almost anything you bought with Spider-Man merchandise was his artwork. It was the artwork. And so he was up on staff as art director of Marvel when I was working. And I wanted to graduate from inker to penciler. And I would show him things. I'd say, hey, what do you think? He'd say, you're not there yet. Let me give you So I would get tips from him, but it was all, I would take the tips home and work on it hard. It's a lot of hard work.
What about the merchandise that comes out of this? It's like, do you get any royalties for that?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Right, if I own it. You know, you get royalty checks for the books you do, and not for the licensing. Licensing, they used to pay a bigger fee. But if I do a Spider-Man book, yeah, you get a royalty check. You know,
wow,
so, right.
That's nice.
Yeah, now like every few months I get one from, I used to live off the royalty checks in the 80s, which was nice, you know. So I kind of semi-retired in my 20s, and then then the royalty check stopped, and I was like, I got to go back drawing comic books again, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of fun, yeah.
So what's the next book that you're coming out with? What's next?
I'm actually helping out with, remember the Night Stalker TV show in the 70s, Coal Shack? So I'm doing a Coal Shack story with the Night Stalker.
Oh, really?
And then I'm talking with that woman about co-creating this book about a superhero girl who can play music for her superpowers, you know.
Oh, she plays music. Oh,
yeah.
giving out her story.
Well,
is that okay? Too late now.
Yeah, let's rewind the DVD.
Too late now.
Yeah. But no, it's, there's more to it, so
Okay.
I'm not giving away
But she's
anything.
got superpowers through her music.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like I like that story.
Yeah, she's
Since,
got a good mind, That's far beyond what I can do,
Yeah.
I'm just a workhorse,
Well, let's do another one. We got a little bit of time, and I think we
Okay.
have some more of your pictures. Maybe we can bring some of those up to show what else you've done. Can they bring a couple other pictures up? Here's one here.
Sure. That's the one I co-created. That young boy is called, his name is Toshi. He's half a twin. Well, actually, he's Kai. His twin sister is Toshi, and they had,
Superpowers.
yeah, beyond, it's more like psychic powers,
Psychic
Yeah.
powers, okay.
And that was all Japan. And that's his sister with the one in red. That's Toshi. So she's, they kinetic energy, psychic powers. It's kinda
So now
nice.
when you said inking, are you also doing color when you're doing the inking, or that's another person,
That's
right?
another person, yeah.
So there's how many people that would actually take to make one panel like this?
Well,
Let's
gee,
just-
I have to count it on my finger. There's the writer, then there's the artist, me, then there's the inker, and then there's the colorist. So it's
Four
yeah.
people to
Yeah.
do one page.
And then there's the letterer, who puts the letters in afterwards.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Wow. So
Yep.
that is a big production then.
Well, this is again is Kai, and this is the main villain. I forgot his name, but he's a huge dragon man,
Now,
personification.
what kind of paper are you using when you're doing this?
Well, you Strathmore Bristol.
Okay.
I like plate finish,
Flat, nice, smooth.
nice and smooth. The
Yes,
ink goes
I
on
love
smooth.
that.
Right. Yeah.
That is a great paper.
Yeah. There again, most any and you can go online. Borden and Riley's got some good paper. And I ordered for comic book with blue line on it. There's this company called Eclipse. Anybody out there who's interested?
Oh, this is great.
So there again is the guy on the bottom. His name is Aratsu. He's the main villain. That's Toshi. Toshi took over the girl took over a costume and is riding a dragon in. I believe that's Toshi. So she sort of was in battle before that. And there was a lot of blood and guts in that story. I'm glad I didn't have that on there.
Wow.
So she donned that crustacean type costume in this dragon to go after the main villain, that guy down there.
Now, when did you come up with a character for this, or?
No,
these are
that's Mike Carey. He's
Mike Carey,
He's
okay.
a big time writer in my industry. He's a British fellow. I've come up with characters. I was more of a Charlie Brown, Snoopy, simple-minded guy. So I always wanted to do a gag panel, so I had a bunch of that, But the comic books, a little bit more sophisticated for me. Once I got into it, I was just on the steamroller of
Well,
making deadlines.
Let's do some more drawing, and
Oh,
we can
boy.
talk while you draw.
All right.
Now, when you said you set up at like different places, Disney and different places you've set up. What do you do when you go there? Say,
Well, Disney specifically, I did the Disney characters. I mean,
did they?
I didn't do caricatures at Disney. That's another thing. I did.
Oh, okay.
I was mainly, I showed what animation would be like, if and then they ended animation.
Now, did they draw, or have you drawn on the acetate paper?
No, that's inking again for animation.
That's cute.
Yeah.
I can already see who's coming out.
Yeah, I like to keep it simple, especially during demos, unless we got a half hour for every drawing.
So how long did it take you to understand how to do a face like this? I mean, when you do this,
Yeah,
just right away, you just look at it and it
No,
just
I-
came to you, or it took you time to study it? And
well, no, when I worked there, the guy who hired me used to work with Walt Disney himself. His name was Ralph Kent. He did the first Mickey Mouse watch for adults. So there was no like class to go into, but later on he taught a class. But so a man by the name of Ralph Kent, who's now his name is etched on the glass down Main Street. It's like the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
right.
So I don't know what building he's on. I haven't seen it in a long time. I forgot, but his name is up there, Ralph Kent. So I would go in and he'd go, "Let me show you." So every time they draw a Mickey face, they keep in mind the Mickey Mouse hat. So the ears are always placed over here if you tilt it so it looks like the hat.
Oh,
And they keep it where,
okay.
so I thought I could draw it until I went over there and saw how it's done. So there's all these little trademark positive and negative spaces, you know.
Okay.
So when you're drawing, actually, like when I draw, the first thing I look at is the negative space. The negative space
Very
is
good to know.
the white area outside. So there's negative space between his nose, right? There's a white space there. So you got to keep all those little trademark spaces, plus the positive spaces where his mask goes and the way the side perspective-wise. You got to drawing
Think of
is
the angle, right?
yeah, because drawing in your mind is three-dimensional. It's flat on the paper, but
So you're trying to take a three-dimensional object and put it into two dimensions.
three-dimensional
which
in
is
my
paper.
head. Yeah, right,
Right.
right. It's like if you held a ball, like drawing on a balloon. That's you draw and then you're on this side. In
Right.
perspective, this side will be smaller than that.
You know, that's actually a good way to teach somebody to draw.
Yeah, well,
Is
that's
on a balloon to do a face. That's a really good idea.
I've done that. Yeah.
Yeah, and then when they look at it, they can actually see
Right.
that tilt and that movement.
Drawing is all about feeling in your head. Don Heck, who I said was a friend of mine, who he actually designed from scratch 4 of the Avengers that are like in the movies, Hawkeye and all that. He would say you got to have the feel. You know, that was his language, but it's true. If you
Let's try another one. Can you do another one? Or?
yeah, I can do another one.
We got
Sure.
a whole pad of paper.
Yeah, well, you know.
Lots of fun.
I'm running out of a mental reservoir here, but you let me know what.
Oh, I'm
what you,
sure. Do one of the characters that you brought up on the.
Oh, it's the.
We've only got about 2 minutes left.
Oh,
so-
really? Oh, okay.
And this one is.
I'll
You
do
can
that.
explain what you're doing maybe while you're.
I'll do. Well, so I'm already my mind is on this negative space here.
So you're looking at space here, space here, space here.
Yeah, my peripheral
Okay.
vision is going around
And
here.
you're keeping the head high on the page so that
Well, I'm just drawing the face, you know.
Right.
So I'm trying to stay center.
Okay,
So I'm using my framing in my head here.
okay. We'll see if somebody's watching this. Now you've already got the eyes on an angle, so you've tilted
Yeah,
the head.
I've tilted the head, you know, a little.
Tilted the head on the angle already.
Right. If, attitude, where he
Mm-hmm.
wants to look position-wise, whatever. So I got the boy looking in this direction.
Oh, look at that. So just
Right.
changing the pupils and the irises in a different direction.
Right. He's going that way. And I already have in my mind peripheral vision where the placement is for everything, you know.
Now, that's something that you learned by just working with these, going over and over and over these
My own,
different faces.
on my own. You know, there used to be, remember when you were a kid in school and you would draw a heart, and the teacher would say, fold the paper and draw the other side of the
Yes.
heart? So you do that with the mirror, and that's how I just saw it, you know. So.
Jim, I've really enjoyed having you on the show. I'm
thanks.
sure everybody else did too. And
I hope so.
We're gonna
I'm dry mouth
say
right now.
goodnight.
I got cotton mouth.
because it's all over now.
Oh, it's quick.
And so we'll see you next time with more focus. Until then, good night.
While I was on a combat patrol in Bakaba, Iraq, a rocket-propelled grenade took my arm off at the shoulder. I was discharged from the Army, and I've been working with the Wounded Warrior Project since 2007. Warriors don't have to be severely wounded to be with the Wounded Warrior Project. We do have a lot of guys that have post-traumatic stress disorder. Being able to share your story, I guess it kind of helps you wrap your mind around what did happen over there. My name is Norby, and yes, I do suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder, but I'm okay.